Alright, welcome back to another Art of War 3 replay. I'm your host, John Cena, and today we're going to be doing a clan 2v2 battle. I'm going to be the blue Confederate player, and my ally is going to be clan leader MOG. He will be the green Confederate player. So let's go ahead and get into it. We got some early scouting occurring around the map as we fight for those early game containers. We got an interesting lineup for this battle here today. We got two pretty strong resistance players on paper. The red player is a rank camper, and the yellow player is a pretty strong resistance player with an 80% win rate. So we're anticipating a pretty tough battle here, one that we're probably not going to win here, so we're going to see what we can do. MOG is going to lose that container there to the yellow player, who is Invincible Ali. And looks like MOG is attempting to fight for it, but I'm not sure that MOG is going to be successful. Looks like MOG was able to break through and get that container though. Meanwhile, I'm in the center breaking through to get that large container. Looks like Invincible Ali though is coming in though with some reinforcements. Looks like some armadillos and infantry. But MOG is still trying to fight for this container. Let's see if he can secure the goods here. And looks like this armadillo is going to get cleaned up by MOG, and MOG is going to be able to push back Invincible Ali. So, right now, just checking up to HQ3 at this point. At this point, MOG and I, we're not entirely sure what kind of strategy to go for. We know that Invincible Ali has a maxed out account, and so we're essentially thinking that this might be a lost cause. But, as always, we want to do the best that we can with what we have. So, we see a scout here coming in with the coyote from the red player. Looks like red's getting a nice scout onto MOG's base here. MOG's getting down a 6th and 7th supply center, just continuing to build infrastructure. Meanwhile, I'm sending my fortress over to the red player. Let's check out the red player to see what they've got lined up in their base. Looks like red is HQ3 and has a hawk out already, so we're anticipating that there's going to be some hawk support coming in pretty soon into play. So both MOG and I are going to have to prepare some kind of anti-air defense. We see a Cayman coming in from the yellow player. Looks like Invincible Ali was able to get a scout onto my base. So looks like I'm going to tech up here to HQ4. I'm going to start to produce units here. Meanwhile, large infantry group moving in from Invincible Ali, and that is a ton of infantry pushing back MOG's troops. MOG's troops are going to get cleaned up. We see a dragonfly as well in the mix for the yellow army. But meanwhile, I got some infantry in the center here, trying to see if I can secure another large container to get some extra resources. MOG is defending against Invincible Ali's attack. Meanwhile, red's bringing in some jaguars and a hawk to put fire down onto my infantry. Looks like those hawks are going to pull back. Those jaguars and the hawks were able to clean up my infantry. So my plan here right now is to drop down a couple more assault vehicle factories. My plan is to go for mass hammers with typhoons and infantry mixed in, and we'll see how this plays out in a little bit. MOG is going to send a vertex over to Invincible Ali's base. He's going to get a scout on the base, and look at this. Yellow is still only HQ2. This is a surprise. We're already almost at the 10-minute mark of this game. So my plan changes here. My original plan was to hit the red player's base, but looks like we're going to actually try and hit the yellow player's base instead. See if we can clean them up. Here comes some jaguars moving in though from the red player. We got a decent amount of armor moving in. I'm going to have to move my troops back into position to defend against this assault. So looks like there's some porcupines and jaguars coming in. I'm going to come in with my infantry and hammer tanks. And I've got the number advantage here. So I'm going to be able to move my hammers around the back of these jaguar tanks and maneuver them. And we're actually going to be able to clean up this assault force pretty nicely. Meanwhile, MOG is pushing an assault up the center. He's got infantry mixed in with Zeus tanks and Corinths. And my troops are continuing to do a good job defending against red. Yellow, meanwhile, is spamming tons of infantry. He's got an alligator in the mix as well as some porcupines. And looks like the mix for MOG is not optimal for taking out infantry, so MOG is going to have to retreat at some point, and there he is retreating his forces. Infantry from MOGs are now coming in to reinforce, but looks like they're heavy assaults, and MOG is maybe going to need to mix in some fire assaults. Those torrents, though, are dishing out some good damage against the yellow player. So it looks like MOG is going to push back the yellow player and is going to be able to slowly advance his troops. Looks like there's a few mines in the area from the yellow player, and those mines are going to dish out some damage. Meanwhile, my units here are continuing to defend against red. Red and yellow still trying to make pushes here. Looks like yellow is going for a very heavy infantry build. Here comes some hawks from the red player. They're going to score a direct hit onto MOG's troops here. And it looks like MOG is taking some heavy fire here. Those torrents are not going to last much longer from the hawks, and those hawks are going to score another hit. But here comes the vertex from MOG, and those vertex score a direct hit onto the hawks. Anti-air is in play though from the porcupines and the gator, so MOG's got to be careful. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of still mass producing vehicles here. I've now gone for 4 assault vehicle factories and 3 barracks and a special vehicle factory. I'm mixing typhoons along with my ground army. Here comes my ground army moving in. Hawks coming in from the red player to dish out some damage. It's not enough though. My troops are spread out so far, so we're not going to take too much splash damage. I'm able to move in pretty nicely though against the yellow player. Yellow is now being pushed back towards his base. Here comes MOG to reinforce with some heavy armor. I'm moving in with mass troops now, but here comes the red player with their ground army. We got jaguars, infantry, and porcupines moving in, and it looks like this is going to turn into a base trade. I'm moving in a full ground army, and so the red player. Looks like we're officially in a base race here. Let's see what kind of damage we can do against the yellow player. My hammer tanks are moving around the side of the yellow player's base, and it looks like red is going to destroy some of my infrastructure. Here comes some vertex from MOG to defend. I've got to move some ground troops back into the area. Most of my ground army is over at the yellow player's base, and now my tanks are moving through the back now. Yellow's in danger, but I'm also under heavy pressure here as well. We got grenadiers at my base with the vehicles, and these hawks are coming in from the red player to try and dish out some damage to defend against my attack here. I'm continuing to produce reinforcements here, and MOG's vertex are doing a great job dishing out splash damage against those infantry. It's making the defense much more feasible. Looks like yellow's in big trouble now though. Yellow just lost their tier 3 HQ and just lost the assault vehicle factory. We can see that yellow is low power at this point. Meanwhile, the red player is only down to a handful of grenadiers at this point. Those hawks are still desperately trying to defend the yellow player's base, but this is not going to be enough. My hammer tanks are continuing to shred the back of the base while MOG's troops do damage to the front. These vertex are also shredding the grenadiers on the front lines though, so this is looking good for us. We're actually doing surprisingly well, and it looks like grenadiers now coming in from the red player. Red's in trouble. He's now having to split his forces between putting pressure on me and trying to defend his ally, and it's not looking good on either front. I'm continuing to produce more ground troops at this point. I've lost a good portion of my army, and Red's continuing to reinforce, so I have to be careful. Meanwhile, I've only got a handful of troops left in the area, but MOG is continuing to reinforce, and MOG is defending on my side as well with those vertex. Vertex are doing a great job just cleaning up those ground troops and making it feasible for me to continue to produce units to defend. Tanks and infantry are still streaming in from the red player, but it's not going to be enough. Meanwhile, MOG's got some heavy armor, still dishing out some good damage. Yellow's still got an alligator, but that is not going to be enough. My troops make a little bit of a push, but those grenadiers are going to retreat, and it's going to give me time to rebuild my ground army. Yellow's base is pretty much finished off at this point, but look at this. Looks like Yellow was trying to go for an HQ rebuild, but was not able to get the HQ out before losing their construction yard. Looks like the Hawks are still dishing out damage though, but those Hawks again are not going to be enough at this stage of the battle. So we're just going to go ahead and finish off this headquarters here that was under construction, and the headquarters is going to go down. And it looks like yellow is going to lose the rest of their infrastructure. So at this point in the battle, it's now going to be a 1v2 in this arena, and we have the upper hand for sure. Ground troops are now just cleaning up the last little bit here, while I continue to reproduce my ground army. So again, I've got the quadruple assault vehicle factories, and it looks like MOG says he's at max command points. So we're going to go ahead and make a push now. We see a JCP army moving in with grenadiers, but this is no problem. I've got tons of fire assaults and infantry and hammer tanks mixed together, and this is going to absolutely crush this chameleon army, no problem at all. And now we're going to move our ground forces towards the red player's base, and we're going to crush this second chameleon army, and we're going to move straight onto the red player's base. And at this point, it's pretty much good game. Red is self-destructing. Alright, hope you all enjoyed this battle. Good luck on your battles out there, and we will see you in the next one.